Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest ALTA Insights webinar. I'm Jeremy Yohe, ALTA's Vice President of Communications, and today we've got an exciting presentation lined up that will hopefully teach you a little bit of getting started and creating, some vivacious videos for your company. Today's webinar is being recorded. You'll get an email with a link to the recording and a copy of the presentation tomorrow. You can always access a copy of the presentation in the go to webinar window pane now. And you can always access our webinar recordings on the ALTA website at alta.org/webinars. That's alta.org/webinars. If you have a question anytime during the presentation, submit them in the questions box. We'll hold a little bit of time at the end for a Q&A. I do need to thank RamQuest for sponsoring today's webinar. And before introducing today's speaker, we have a short message from RamQuest.
When it comes to title and settlement production, all solutions are not created equal. That's why RamQuest is tailored to fit your unique business needs. With RamQuest's configurable workflow, you can automate repetitive, time-consuming tasks to process higher volumes of transactions as you optimize your operational efficiencies so you can do more business. Our secure, modern features improve communication while providing maximum flexibility. And RamQuest equips you with advanced tools that not only boost productivity, but also accelerate your production work. Plus, you can personalize your workflow to suit individual user preferences. With RamQuest's production solution, you'll experience unparalleled capabilities that can empower business growth like never before.
All right. Thank you, RamQuest. There. Let me introduce Wayne. I'm sure many of you have met Wayne, know Wayne. Wayne is CEO and founder of Bo Digital, which Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong, was recently named one of the best places to work in Indiana.
It's true, second year in a row.
All right, well, congratulations. Wayne also has some double duty for ALTA this week. He's leading our virtual consumer marketing workshop, which starts tomorrow. So thank you for jumping in today, Wayne, and teaching everyone a little bit on how to make some videos. Before jumping in, we wanted to launch a little poll question real quick, gauge everyone's video making ability. Are you starting out, or are you a Scorsese in the title business?
And be honest.
Well, Wayne, while they're taking the poll, I'll kick it over to you and we can get started. It looks like 90% are novice, so they are clay in your hands.
I think that's most of the title industry, whether you're an agent, an attorney, if you're on an underwriting team, or even any vendors that may be on here as well. There are a couple of stats I'm going to share here in just a second. That anything that, as much as video is being consumed in the world, it says that there's like 10% of businesses that aren't using it. And I think a lot of that 10% sits in our industry because it's just a different thing to do business to business type videos and to feel like you've got content to share and things to say and all of that. It's not easy, but it also shouldn't stress you out. And I'm going to try to go through, I know a lot of you said that you were novice, but I'm going to try to give you a lot of different things to think about to introduce video into your organization. And I think that one of the things that you'll hear me say along here is that, this isn't something where you're going to go from novice to Steven Spielberg. You shouldn't have that expectation. You shouldn't have that pressure on yourself. And you shouldn't have that kind of dedication to it right away, because this is something that changes, and it's really one of the best parts about being able to use videos, that it should be easier than having to come up with a marketing email or social media content and that kind of thing. That's my perspective, and I'm sure some of you are like, video sounds like the hardest thing on the planet. Hopefully we're going to give you plenty of stuff today to think about. I'm going to talk about some of the different mediums for video. I'm going to give you some really specific examples for stories because that's the most utilized. I'm going to talk about how to use trends and kind of what's happening in video. I'm going to talk about content a little bit and what you should be thinking about doing in the videos that you create. You're going to have lots of questions, and so I'm going to leave some time for that. And then I'm also going to give some really specific video tools that I like. There are hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of video tools out there. So you've probably heard of some, your cousin, your nephew, your intern, the kids at church, whatever it is, there are a million. And I'm just giving you the ones that I use and prefer, but I'm happy to talk about any that that you want to talk to. I always tell people in these types of sessions, you're spending an hour with us today out of your time, so be selfish with your time. Please do ask questions and get out of this what you want to get out of it. And then my contact information is at the back of this slide deck that I know Jeremy will make available too. And I'm more than happy to talk and brainstorm privately if anybody would like to do that afterwards as well. So that said, Jeremy, if you want to advance the slide here, we're going to talk about some stats here really quick. One of the ones that can't surprise you, but 92% of marketers out there say that they get good ROI from their video marketing. That is because video marketing is still one of the most engaged with forms of marketing that can be done. People always ask me, who are marketers? People in roles that are doing marketing. So when a company takes a survey about what kind of marketing they do, when they get asked, is video worth it? Most of them say yes. Now, if you've ever tried video in the past and you haven't seen ROI, there may be some reasons for that. There may be because you didn't try it long enough. A lot of people overinvest in video at first, and I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. I get told all the time, hey, we saw your session, we went to your class, we really talked about it, we developed a studio in our office, we got rid of one of our offices, and now it's a video studio and all of this. And yeah, if you're going to paint walls and add soundproofing and all of that stuff out of nowhere, you're probably not going to see the same ROI because it does take time, like all things in marketing. 91% of businesses are using video for their marketing right now. Again, like I said at the beginning of this, the 9% that aren't are probably hidden throughout our industry, and I mean that in the most loving way possible. It's not, in the past, I don't think it's been as easy to think about how we might use video. It hasn't been adopted in the same way. Our customers didn't care about it the same way. And I say that, this is my 11th year in the industry now. And, this is in the last couple of years is really just now becoming the prime point for this. When I signed up for the industry, we were still, when I landed in the industry, like all of you, we were still trying to explain, how a title company might use Instagram, let alone the video side of things. So there's a lot to determine there. 1 in 10 of these businesses still don't track video ROI. So that's crazy to me that 92% say that they get good ROI, but 1 in 10 don't specifically track it. And that's because it's hard. And we're going to talk about the metrics, that's listed here below, of some of the most popular metrics for determining video success. As you can see, and I always point this out to people in this industry that I love so much, bottom line sales are not one of the top metrics for determining video success. Just because this is part of marketing, I will say bottom line sales are often not the top metric for marketing success in general. It is a way to engage your audience and build relationships and all that kind of stuff. So if you expect to release a video and immediately get an order, probably not going to happen. If it does happen, great, send me the video so I can use it as an example in future classes. But video views are what people want the most. The more people that view it, the more sticky it is, to use a really jargony marketing phrase. The stickiness means, the more that other people want it. Other people, Siri thinks I'm talking to her, sorry. But it means other people want to see it. And that's audience engagement as well. Audience engagement on videos is hard. Getting somebody to comment on a static video that you've created on your YouTube channel or Instagram or things like that. A lot of people are passive watchers of videos, so it's hard to get audience engagement. Leads are a great determination for success of video. Being able to say, have somebody say, oh, I saw this video that you did, or I saw this how-to, or I saw this interview, or I saw that behind the scenes video you did. My realtor shared that, my lender shared that, who knows what it might have been, our broker, whoever. That kind of thing can be really helpful. Something else to think about, the amount of video watched weekly has doubled in just the last few years. COVID certainly had a huge push for that. And I'm going to share some stats about apps and video apps and streaming here in a little bit. It really blew my mind as I was thinking more about this year. But in 2018, we finally stopped. I shouldn't say we. In general, most people have stopped really tracking the amount of hours that video is watched and consumed, because it's an insane number. The amount of video watched every hour on YouTube is a huge, hard to even fathom number. So we're finally into the number of actual videos, and the average US adult is watching 19 videos online a week at this point. A lot of you on this may be saying, that's how many a day? That's not me. I don't know anybody that does that. Part of this is realizing that just because it's not you or your immediate friend or peer group doesn't mean that your customer base isn't doing this. And whether it's your customer base now or in the future, you've got to pay attention to it. And then obviously the most used video channels I just wanted to have up here. I think it might surprise some folks, the order of a lot of this right now. TikTok is growing and it's changing fast. I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit, but YouTube and LinkedIn by far, especially in this industry, are the best platforms for putting content out and distributing content from whatever video content you may have. So I would think about that when you're trying to decide what do you want to do, how are you going to house this stuff. I tell our customers all the time, you need to have a YouTube channel, and that's really important. Not because so many times when I say you got to have a YouTube channel, they'll say, oh, I heard, my son told me that if we have a YouTube channel, we can start getting paid for our videos. Let me set another realistic expectation. You can't go from no videos to creating a YouTube channel to getting paid for your videos overnight. That's just not how it works. You're not going to go from novice to paid influencer overnight. If that's your goal as your title company, then happy to help you with that and happy to help you think through that, but it's not going to happen. However, YouTube is owned by Google, so the more that you have on your YouTube channel, the more it's going to help with your search results for the other things that you're doing with your digital marketing. YouTube is also just a great place to house video. So it's not one more thing where you're trying to build an audience or anything like that. It's just you can think of it as almost like a filing cabinet or a library to house videos and keep it organized for you. Also, if you're going to put any of these videos that you create on your website, YouTube allows you to link and put the YouTube player that we've all experienced on your website, and then your videos don't drag it down. You don't want to put a video file on your site because it's going to make it load slower for people. So using something like YouTube or Vimeo that we'll talk about towards the end can be really helpful there as well. You can go ahead and advance, Jeremy. So let's talk about stories. That's one of the most engaged with types of video right now. It is one of the sort of most popular, but also most confused, I think, types of video content that's out there. Stories don't have to be video. They can be a variety of different formats. A lot of stories are considered video, even if they're static images. But you can blame Snapchat for the stories that we have in today's marketplace. Just for a tiny bit of marketing history for you. Snapchat created their version of stories, I can't remember how many years ago now, and it really took off. It was very popular. Snapchat had just gone public on the stock market, and things were going well for them. Well, Instagram wasn't born yesterday, and they said, if this is going well, we want to jump on board. And so Instagram adopted stories as well. And immediately people flocked to it on Instagram because Instagram was already the most utilized an engaged with social media platform, and they latched onto that. Snapchat stock plummeted. It's never really recovered. That's a whole other thing. And it kind of resulted in stories being here to stay. You know, if it was going to really affect a business's bottom line like that, their shareholders and everything, it was something to pay attention to. Now, stories are everywhere. Stories are on LinkedIn, even if you haven't had that update yet where you're seeing stories on LinkedIn, you will very, very soon. There are stories, YouTube calls them shorts. Just about every platform has stories now. And if you're not sure what a story is, I'm going to show you some examples, but they're those little circles at the top of your Instagram account, your Facebook account, your LinkedIn account, your Snapchat account. They're meant to be more time sensitive type things. And that doesn't mean that they are, you know, urgent by any stretch, but it just means that they are typically a little bit more in the moment. And people like them because they're quick. They're easy, and they can be user generated or they can be pre-planned. And that's hard for some people because a lot of people think of stories. And again, if you're a novice and stories are new to you, you may be like, I don't think anything yet. But a lot of stories traditionally have been, like I said, in the moment. It's somebody at something like RamQuest user group saying, hey, I'm here at RamQuest. I'm teaching a class right now. Look at everybody in the audience. You know, can't wait to get back in the office and implement some of this next week, that kind of stuff. Or I'm at Alta One and I'm learning about seller phishing scams or something, you know, like there's all kinds of stuff that you might share in the moment. I'm at the grand opening of the ice cream parlor, whatever it is, all that kind of stuff. Or like a picture of something really crazy happening during your commute to work, all of that kind of, you know, a beautiful dinner. So many people have taken pictures of their food over the years. That is kind of the user generated content that stories are often made up with. But they can be pre-planned now, where you can decide what kind of content you're going to put out there. And I'm going to show some very specific examples here in just a second for you to kind of paint that picture better. But sites like Canva have story templates that you can use where you can create the story, design it, and then send it to your phone so that all you have to do is put it into the story on the Instagram app. You don't have to design it. You don't have to film anything. You don't have to worry about that. And it can be a static image or a video. So that pre-planned stuff is making huge headway right now because it's way easier for people. They can sit down and think about it ahead of time, and they don't have to worry about, well, am I going to sound like an idiot? What's my background look like? Can they see me? All that kind of stuff. So a lot of stories also really encourage audience participation, whether that's through voting, you know, giving things a thumbs up, a thumbs down. There are opportunities to ask for their opinion. You can ask people to submit questions. There's a lot of different ways for that to happen. And you've probably experienced it before, but if you haven't, I really encourage you, the best way to kind of understand this better and start to think about how you might use it in your organization is probably to go onto your Facebook account, your Instagram account, and scroll through there. You may not even realize that you've been surfing through stories for a long time now because they have woven them into Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn so well that a lot of people don't really realize that it's a different type of content that they're looking at. You know, there's been tests from Instagram for years now of switching, you know, if you've ever scrolled through Instagram, it's a vertical scroll at the moment. Stories are so popular, they keep testing a scroll where you go left to right. Facebook is testing their news feed, which from 2005 or whenever Facebook started has been a vertical scrolling news feed. They are testing that to be a left to right kind of story centric news feed into the future. So you're going to see more with this, and it's worth taking some time to think about how this may work for you. But let me show you some specific examples. Jeremy, if you want to go to the next slide. The first example here is from Taco Bell. This is a national chain of how they are using some of the ways that stories can be used. So this is someone where she was doing a funny thing and tracking her baby's growth using Taco Bell menu items. You know, it's the size of a, I don't know, I can't think of a good menu item that it would be, but you know, the size of some small taco versus something else versus a burrito versus a whole platter, you know, that kind of thing. And those are all kind of, you know, pictures. They're sharing links. That's what the swipe up to see more is. They're sharing the where they matched their nails and did their nails branded to be Taco Bell, and so they just commented on it and said nailed it, with, you know, a bit of a pun there. And then there are these guys that are talking about a new Taco Bell menu item. That's how a traditional kind of average story can be utilized. On this next slide, I'm going to show you some pre-planned, pre-designed, just generic real estate type stories that you might see out there. So this one is talking about, and this is a good example of, these are templates that are available on Canva. Where this, I will say, these are templates that are available. If your story has this much text, pull out the red buzzer. You should not have this much text on a story. However, this is a good example of a pre-designed story where if you have, you know, if you're trying to teach this to your real estate agents, this is something where if they've got a new listing, they could do a pre-planned story for when the listing goes live on the MLS. If you're thinking about this for your title company, it could be for new teammates, it could be for new offices, new service offerings, new technology that you have, and vendors and all of that. It doesn't have to be live, real-time kind of posts, not like the Taco Bell piece. It can be like this. And for a lot of title companies, they have a little bit more, there's a little more comfort in this sort of pre-planned, pre-designed example because it can be more branded. It's a little more controlled. You don't have to worry about what's my salesperson doing, what's the marketing department doing, even if you're the president, CEO, and marketing person, you know, you don't have to worry about all of that because you know that it's in your brand and it kind of matches everything else. And then if you go on to the next slide here, Jeremy, it's going to show a more like audience engaged example of some of these tools. And so a really popular one is to do sort of blank templates that your audience can share. So the first one there is this or that. And the idea is that people screenshot it, they screenshot your story, and then they use their photo editor to kind of circle, do you like new builds or custom remodels? Do you like stainless steel or matte black? That kind of thing. And then the same is true for the Dream Home Challenge over on the right, being able to add GIFs to each of those circles. A lot of you, if you're novice video users or story users, this is probably not for you right away, but there are things that you can kind of do. You can, like that says, it says place a question sticker there. You can ask a question of people. You can do a quick and easy poll where they give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. A lot of people, they do silly polls that aren't even actually polls, but people still like to engage. So they'll say, you know, is closing day the best day? Yes or 100%. Both of them mean yes, but it's just giving people a different option to click on, and people like that kind of thing. So the audience engaging examples are something that I think you can aspire to, but I would definitely get you to at least do the questions and the poll kind of stuff, because people love to give their opinion on social media. And if that's news to you, you're probably not using social media very much, but even if it's giving them a sort of faux democratic ability to give their opinion or to vote on something, they absolutely love it. It's something that, you know, I've been doing this now since 2007 in the social media world, and it still blows my mind how people just crave being able to give their opinion online, because that's not how I operate, and I'm sure that's not how most of you operate, but they do. They let, whether it's voting on a t-shirt, giving you a political opinion, saying whether they like this pizza shop or that pizza shop. I think it's just something that at some point, especially in the United States, has been ingrained in us, that like our opinion is worth others hearing about. And so that's a big piece of this. So again, even if this isn't something that appeals to you, you have customers now or will have customers in the future that this is something that will be engaging to them. And so, this was some very specific examples in real estate in general, but on the title side of things, it could be preferences for closing day, in-person traditional versus a Ron type closing. I know that that's super title nerdy and down in the weeds kind of stuff, but you have to figure out how to nerd it out and make it work for your brand, your company, and your marketplace, because it doesn't have to be about real estate or title or even your company. I gave some examples of the pizza shop and that kind of stuff. We have so many customers that at the beginning of the summer do things like ice cream wars, and they'll have people vote between, do you like, I live in Kokomo, Indiana, and there's Scoops and Cone Palace. And so they'll have people vote between Scoops and Cone Palace. They'll do things like other small businesses, whether it's flower shops, car washes, it could be anything. It could be having them give questions about maybe a development that your commercial title team is helping with. What do you want to know about, this new high-rise shopping center or whatever? That kind of thing. It could be anything under the sun that you want to engage them in. It doesn't have to be specifically about real estate or your company. We can go on to the next one here. So some overall trends in video that I want to talk about. I get asked about TikTok at least once a day from companies all over, not just this industry, but just companies all over the place trying to figure out, what is it? Does it make sense? Should we be on there? In general, you should be thinking about TikTok. For people, I can't remember the specific age right this second, but people under 32 that are using their mobile device at any given rate, which is something like, for anybody 34 and under is like 99% of them in the United States have a mobile device. They are using TikTok more than Google for their average daily searches. And that's important because we could have a whole symposium on the future of Google and how much it's going to change in the next 5 years, because TikTok's eating their lunch when it comes to that. So let me say that again. People under 35 are using TikTok to search things more than they are Google. That's hard for a lot of us. I'm an elder millennial. If you're older than me, we've all known Google or a version of it. Ask Jeeves. If you're somebody that still uses Yahoo or Bing, perhaps that's you. But we've had these more traditional search engines that we've had for a long time. And TikTok is positioning itself to be a type of search engine. It's the type of content they're trying to curate. They're trying to they're doing some tests to actually pull from their algorithm from Google, because they see what's happening. They see that there's a certain demographic that is using TikTok for more than just scrolling through videos. So if you're not on TikTok right now or you don't see a value for it, you really need to be thinking about what you will do and when you will do it. If you're not familiar with TikTok, it is an app where you can share videos that are meant to be high energy, short, and self-explanatory. If any of you are familiar, you might be saying, well, they're not short anymore, because now some people can go up to, I think they can go up to like 10 minutes for a video now. You have to have a lot of followers to do that, all of that kind of stuff. Most of you will not have access to a 10-minute video on TikTok. But there is a place for TikTok in this industry. There are, if you're not familiar, I always say, like, if you ever see kids in the parking lot of the restaurant that you're waiting for your dinner reservation at, if they're out there doing weird dance rehearsals, they're doing TikToks. TikTok was originally a lip syncing app when it came out. And so that's kind of why some of the viral dance stuff and viral sounds and music are still such a big deal on that app. But it's not all that's on there. The educational side of TikTok is huge. The amount of people that are creating content that isn't being seen in other places. And in the real estate space, this is, back down to the bare bones of explaining different real estate terms. There are mortgage lenders and real estate agents that have millions of followers each that are talking about all the things we've talked about for a long time that, a new buyer would need to know, like what does APR stand for? What should you not do to your credit while buying a home? What do you need to bring to the closing table? What is closing? What is escrow? All of that kind of stuff. They talk about horror stories. They talk about the differences between commercial real estate, residential real estate. They break down all of these different things, whether that's for new buyers entering the market. Some of them specifically cater to new people that are investing in real estate, which is huge right now. And so there's definitely a place for that educational side of what we do. But in addition to that, people love, there's some other examples here on this list of behind the scenes and how-to videos. The how-to videos are something that I think now the average adult in the United States watches roughly 10 how-to videos a week. So if you think back to that stat I gave earlier of 19 videos a week, half of them are how-to videos. And that could be, how to change your wiring for a lighting fixture in your house. It could be how to fold a fitted sheet, how to care for a pet. I mean, all kinds of stuff. But it could also be how to buy a home, how to protect your home, how to close on your home, how to avoid closing delays. All of that kind of stuff are still considered how-to videos. Our industry maybe hasn't for a long time, but that kind of stuff counts. The behind the scenes videos, I think, are the hardest for our industry to wrap their head around because a lot of owners and managers kind of think of them as fluff. They are fluff, but people love the fluff. We have a customer who every day when they fire up their espresso machine in their closing room, the first espresso that gets made, they just do a quick video of it and post it as a story. And people love it. They engage with it. They love that espresso machine. I've seen it so many times, I don't really care about the espresso, but people love it. It's not really a behind the scenes. It would probably be considered more of like a day in the life. But, Dr. Cindy McGovern has a very popular video series that she does on hers. They're not specifically stories, but that she does that are, walking to work and kind of showing her community and her surroundings and that kind of thing. We have several that are like around the closing room, and they'll just talk about, this is the room you're going to be in for your closing. This is what you can expect. This is who will be here. These are the things we're going to ask. Anything like that that can break down the walls is helpful, but it doesn't have to be. It can be the silly stuff too. It can be like, everybody thinks of real estate as super, exotic or advanced sometimes, but there are a couple of real estate agents that have very popular followings that do show me your floor mats, and they talk about like how often a real estate agent is in their car for their customers, and they show, what's the floor mat story for you. I think it's disgusting, but people love it. They want to see the dirt and the money and the French fries and whatever from their kids and whatever else. And it's the same. If you are on TikTok, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but there are very viral videos on TikTok of cow hooves being cleaned and cared for. Absolutely disgusting, but people love it. They love watching that stuff. Dr. Pimple Popper wouldn't have a show if they didn't love that kind of thing. So don't let, again, what you feel like may not be behind the scenes worthy or day in the life worthy. You might find it boring or think, who would absolutely care about this? Reality TV wouldn't exist if we didn't have an answer to that question. Who would care? More people than you think. User-generated video is also huge. That is pretty self-explanatory, and that is where you get your customers to generate video. Having them give their day in the life at work, having them give testimonials, having them talk about different pieces of the real estate transaction, all of that kind of thing can be really helpful too. And then viral trends. I'm going to show an option for some trends here in just a second that you can be thinking about. But I really encourage you to think about trends and how to relate our industry into the rest of the world. I say this a lot when I'm doing kind of our more generic marketing topic conversations, our sort of holistic marketing, because I think that a lot of people in this industry forget that there's a whole world outside of our industry. We focus a lot on what's happening in our four walls as a title industry, and then sometimes that doesn't translate outside. So for example, I know Westcore recently really latched on to the Barbie movie and everything that happened with that trend, not just nationally, but nationwide. Those types of things that are happening, if you can figure out how to take a piece of that and make it your own, you're more likely to get engagement in what you're doing. And it doesn't have to be anything super crazy. You know, it could be that on a day you're going to have your whole team wear pink, so because you're going to do a Barbie post for your team. Here are Barbie closers or something like that. It doesn't have to be crazy. And for those viral moments, as long as you're not, you know, creating a T-shirt from it where you profit off of it, you're going to be okay. I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. You have to do whatever makes sense for your own risk management. But some people get really worried about the intellectual property side of those viral trends. They're usually in and out so quick that you're not going to be sued for that kind of stuff. But again, you have to do what makes sense for your own risk management as an organization. But again, if you're not profiting from it and you've got a pretty limited audience, it's going to be fine. And if you have thoughts on that, you know, I'm going to talk about some trends here in a second, how you can find those trends. I get asked that a lot of, well, how do we know what's going on or what's popular? The interactive videos we already talked about with a lot of the story pieces. Something that a lot of folks don't know is that silent captioned videos are some of the most popular videos on the internet, whether it's YouTube or TikTok or LinkedIn. There is an insane stat out there from HubSpot that it's something like 60% of videos get watched with no sound on, especially for people under 40. I still barely crack that under 40 crowd, but it drives me nuts not to watch the video with sound. I am not Charlie Chaplin. I don't understand that, but lots of people do it. Lots of people don't listen to the sound. They don't have it playing on their phone. And so captions are really important. And I'm going to give you some caption tools at the end of this. But so even if you have a video and you just have words on the screen, it's not someone speaking or physically in front of a camera, that's totally fine because a lot of your users aren't going to hear the audio anyway. So don't let that slip you up. Live streaming is obviously huge as well. You can live stream on just about every platform at this point. You can go live on LinkedIn, and a lot of people don't realize that. I'm going to talk more about live streaming here in a minute. And then platform optimization. What does that sort of jargony word mean? It means that, you know, on YouTube, when you're doing a video, it's still going to primarily load horizontally. On a story, it's going to be built vertically. On a YouTube short, it's going to be vertical. On Instagram, on your timeline, it's going to be a square. On your reels on Instagram, it's going to be vertical. You have to think about where you're going to share this stuff for how you want to record the video, because if it doesn't fill the screen correctly, then your user, the person, the audience that you want for that video can't consume it the same way. And if they're scrolling through and all of a sudden yours doesn't look the same as the rest, they're more likely to go right past it because they're used to a certain thing. Especially when you are scrolling videos, it's sort of mindless, you know, at some point. And so if it looks different, you're like, well, that's not for me. That's probably an ad or something like that. So make sure you're thinking about that platform optimization. Don't stress about it too much, but do consider the horizontal, vertical, square aspect of all this stuff. So to show you an option for trends here, Jeremy, if you want to go to the next slide, if you're not using Google Trends, I really encourage it. You can go to trends.google.com to see some of this, and it allows you to kind of see what's trending in search. So this is not like necessarily what's trending in pop culture or anything, but it's what's trending in search. So I'm going to give you 2 examples here of what can happen on trends and how we use it at Bo Digital. But this first one, yep, you were right, Jeremy, go ahead. This first one is title insurance. So I just looked at it really quickly just to see, and you can tell that you can narrow in by your state if you want. You can look at, when you click on like the past day, it'll go into even years ago. And you can kind of see how many people are searching for it over what period of time. people ask questions, and I'm sure this is a little small for you, but over on the left-hand side, it basically goes from, it goes up to 100 and it goes down to 0 at the bottom line. That is not the number of people looking. That is the overall interest over time. So if it's been 0 interest, you know, at late in the evening on August 14th, for example, and it peaks where people are searching on August 15th in the early afternoon, it's going from 0 to 100. So you have to think about that a little bit, but it just gives you some idea of kind of what's being searched, what's happening, and it also shows you where these searches are happening. So you know, on here, when I search for this, the District of Columbia, West Virginia, Minnesota, Tennessee, Florida has the most searches in that moment. But again, you can kind of change this to be whatever you want. But just to show you, over on that top right there, you can compare of what's trending. And so not to put salt in our wounds as a title industry or anything like that, but I just wanted to show you what comparatively people searching for title versus people searching for the Barbie theme and the Barbie mania that's happening. So, you know, when we looked at just our title insurance trend, it looked kind of impressive, right? It was up and down and 0 to 100 and all of that. Then when you compare it to Barbie over the same period, it's just not quite the same. So this is something where you can see, you know, is it popular in my area? You know, you could compare, you know, everybody was talking about Barbie versus Oppenheimer when those two movies came out. You can see like which one's more popular in our area. And kind of go from there. You can see things that are happening. A really good example of this moment from years ago. It wasn't video based, but many years ago, probably 10 plus years ago, the power went out during the Super Bowl at New Orleans, and immediately, within seconds of the power going out, Oreo put out a tweet that had an Oreo with like a spotlight on it. And all the tweet said was, "You can still dunk in the dark." There's this massive, you know, the largest televised sporting event in the country, all these people watching, people engaging on social media, and this moment happens that everybody's talking about. Everybody's talking about the power being out, and they took advantage of it for their brand, and it went crazy viral because people thought it was so clever. No, I do not think that you have the resources or maybe even creativity of Oreo. That is a huge brand, and it's hard to kind of latch on to those trends sometimes. But I do encourage you to be thinking about what trends are happening and how can you take advantage of that, because maybe it's even just trends in real estate in your market, whether that's luxury real estate, affordable housing, whatever it may be. You can look at that stuff too. And so there are lots of different sites where you can look at trends, but Google is a very user-friendly one that if you're not familiar with it, I thought it was worth sharing with you guys today. You can go on to the next one here, Jeremy. So more video content, more video. One of the things that you have to get used to, I talked about streaming. The average US cell phone user has 9 streaming apps on their phone in 2023. The average user in the United States has 80 apps total. So almost 10% of their apps on their phone are streaming apps. People like watching what's happening live. It keeps growing. It's something that you got to think about moving forward, to go live, to talk about closings that month, all the content we've already talked about, what's happening in your community. If you're going to ribbon cuttings, economic alliance things, it's good to go live. If you know your customers are going to get an out of office because you're going to be at Alta One in a couple of months, go live at Alta One and explain, what are you learning? What are you hoping to bring back for your customers? I tell folks all the time, you know, one of the hurdles for people for video is that they don't like their voice, they don't like their body, they don't like their face. Join the club. When I do trainings on this, my number one comment is, we're all brave enough to leave the house every day. And you have to think about what you're doing with your digital marketing as your digital doormat. And if I came to your office today and I wanted to see you, you wouldn't tell someone, "Oh, I don't like what I'm wearing today. Tell him to come back tomorrow." You wouldn't do that. Also, when we talk about video and people talk about, "Well, I don't like the way I look," or "I don't like what I wore today," when you start video in your organization, it's not meant to be Publishers Clearinghouse where someone comes and surprises you and you have no idea it's happening. Plan for it. Plan for a specific day where you know you're going to record. That way you've given your time to prepare, you've given yourself time to look your best and feel your best. I put the quote, I always tell our customers, I use the quote from The Help of, you was kind, you was smart, you was important. You know more about what you know than anybody else, right? Especially when it comes to title, closing, escrow, especially in your markets. So you will be okay. You will also be shocked at how many people in your organization, especially in a market like this, where maybe some people have more time on their hands than others, that have video experience. Ask your team. If it's not you, find somebody else. Ask your team, who might like to be on video, and you might find out that they are the host of a charity event every year and they love taking a microphone, or that they do all the video work for their church every weekend. Skill sets that as a title industry we don't always look for. So ask your team about that. Consider how to make your virtual trainings and other events. Consider how to make those events that we do, CE, virtual trainings, all that stuff, how to keep them virtual options. And of course, you know your customers. If they hate that option, don't do it. But there are some that may participate more. I said at the beginning, don't build a studio immediately. Don't be an influencer. Don't spend tons of money on equipment. One time I did a webinar like this, and somebody sent me their receipt for this like $3,000 Canon video camera that they got. If you have a phone that has been built in the last 5 years at least, that's all you need to get started. You can get a $20 ring light because lighting is important, and your phone, and you can get started. If you're ready to move beyond that, there are some great Bluetooth microphones that you can get so that you can put it on somebody's lapel and you don't have to worry about the cord going to your phone. Those are about $40, and I'm happy to send you links to any of the products that we buy the most in our organization. But you can get started on video for less than $100. You do not need to be spending thousands of dollars to get started while you figure out what works for you. I know we're going to get to some questions here in a second, Jeremy, but I've got one more slide that I definitely want to get to if we can. Everybody has buts in all of this, but you didn't talk about TikTok versus Reels. You didn't talk about YouTube Shorts. What about Threads? All of this stuff. Reels are what you can see on Instagram, TikTok. Most of the Reels that you see are from TikTok. I would tell you, whatever you're going to do in terms of video, whether it's TikTok, Instagram Reels, and all that, just pick one and start to do it well. Decide where your audience is or where the people that you want to influence are, and do it there. Don't try to be everywhere all at once. I would not worry about YouTube Shorts in the immediate time. You're going to get more engagement on either TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn. I would not wrestle with Threads to save your life at this moment. It is new and it's viral and popular, and Gary Vee would tell you that you've got to lock on to new things and be the first one to be the best at it. You probably don't have time or budget for that. I already talked about horizontal versus video and produced versus grassroots and the intellectual property thing, but don't let a but get in the way of what you're trying to do with all this stuff. That's really important. And then this last slide that I've got for you here shares some specific tools that we use. Promo and Canva are great tools for creating video. They've got free accounts. People get really afraid of the Canva paid account, but it's like $12 a month for it. So if it's in your budget at all, it's definitely worth it. But they're great tools to create video. Yes, there are a million others, like I said at the beginning. And then to house your video and distribute video and a little bit of video editing, Vimeo and the YouTube Studio Editor are great for that. And it looks like my link didn't save there, but the YouTube Studio Editor is just studio.youtube.com. And either one of those are really great resources for you. Again, especially as you're just starting, you don't need a crazy expensive video editing software. You can even edit from your phone. Both Androids and iPhones allow you to trim video at the beginning. So the dead space at the beginning or the flub you make in the middle, that's fine. Let me add that really quick too. So many people, when they do video, if they like misspeak on a word, if they say, well, contact her, and then they're like, oh wait, it's him. Sorry, let me start over. You don't do that in real life. If you got on stage and misspoke a word, or you were talking to a prospect or something, you wouldn't do the Willy Wonka like, whoop, let me reverse that. You don't have to worry about that. Like, be a person. Nobody expects you to be highly produced. And then the last two that I really love for like extra video content, sound effects, stock video clips are Mixkit and Pixabay. Both of those are where you don't have to worry about the intellectual property, because they are royalty-free video clips, royalty-free sounds and effects and stuff like that. That's one if you want to dabble a little bit more and start to increase and enhance what you're doing. Those are really good for you. And then other apps to know, I mean, a lot of you have probably heard about BombBomb before, which allows you to have embedded video in your emails that you're sending. There are apps that you can use like iMovie to edit what you're doing, and Adobe Express does the same thing, and Vidyard's pretty similar there. And then the captioning service that I like is called Veed. It's veed.io. It's essentially, you can do up to 2 to 3 minute videos a month for free. And then it's got like a nominal fee after that. But you put your video in and it will automatically, through AI services, create the captions for you, and then you don't have to worry about it. So those are just some apps that you might want to think about if you're doing it internally. Obviously, there are options for you to outsource that kind of stuff with a third party. There are people on your team that may be skilled in that you want them to help with it. But if you want to poke around with any of that, those are what I would recommend, especially at the novice to mid-level stage. If you get to that point where you're Steven Spielberg, give me a call and I will share even more advanced stuff for you here. But on my last slide is just some information to be able to stay connected. If you want to schedule time with me on my calendar, that's my Calendly link. I always am happy to brainstorm on this stuff and talk more specifically about your organization. So I appreciate your guys' time today. And Jeremy, I don't know if you have any questions or not, but I'm happy to answer some.
Yeah. Thanks, Wayne. Great information. And yeah, as you said, you don't need to be perfect on your videos. Although doing the Willy Wonka reverse, it really would be funny while you're doing it. So.
Or Missy Elliott, right? She was flipping it and reversing it too.
Yeah. As Wayne said, we are going to hold a little bit of time for questions. So if you want to dig into a certain topic that Wayne discussed, pop them in the questions box, and we'll see if we can get it handled. And if you have a question now, you think of something later, yeah, please reach out to Wayne after we're done. Some of the questions we've received, Wayne, are around TikTok. I watch TikTok. I watch it. My kids watch it, so we kind of bond over it. It's interesting that you said, where they get their news. My kids oddly get their news from TikTok. I tell them you can't trust it really, though. I mean, just because it's on TikTok does not mean it's gospel. You really should maybe use a reputable source, but unfortunately, that's where they're getting some of their news. And what are your thoughts on TikTok? Is it getting us conditioned to watch shorter videos where I know you said they do allow for longer ones, like the 10 or 20 minute ones, but most are under that minute, whereas opposed to now, are we going to go watch a 3-hour Oppenheimer movie?
Right. It does. It's changed things and affected it in so many ways, especially for that age group that latched onto it first. But I mean, we are watching shorter videos, but the other thing to pay attention to is they wouldn't have added a 10-minute video option if they didn't know that their users were prepared to watch 10-minute videos. When TikTok users go live, the average length of a TikTok live right now is something like 78 minutes. And for the users that stay on, they stay on for about 86% of that time. So that is, you're thinking about the videos that we scroll through. Yes, we're used to the shorter ones, but we're also, the more engaged we are, some of the stuff that people stay on for the live streams are just silly content. It's not even anything serious like news or something else or education. So I think it's only going to continue. I get asked a lot about like the security of TikTok and that it's China owned and all of that. And my same response would be, if you're online in 2023, that that risk exists regardless of who owns these sites. But again, you have to figure out your own risk management for that kind of stuff. But I think that if you aren't familiar with it at all, today was kind of your first time learning about it, I would encourage you to get an account. You can be what I call them lurkers, people that only scroll, they don't ever like anything, comment, or create their own videos. You're a lurker, and that's fine. I'm a lurker on TikTok. Get on there and lurk around a little bit, see what other people are doing, try to find other real estate folks or small businesses and see how they're finding a way on the app. And I think that'll help you start to think about, oh, well, they're doing this, this might work for us.
Yeah, you touched on the security concerns. We had several questions about TikTok and security. And to your point, yeah, any social media platform, there are concerns about your data and your information and NPI. China, owning TikTok maybe takes it another level, and I think the geolocation, data that they can collect could be a concern. But yeah, you really gotta gauge your own risk and use it appropriately.
Exactly.
When we were talking about measuring ROI for videos, one specific question, and Denise asked if you can use Constant Contact to measure video success. I think Constant Contact is going to measure more of your email marketing success as opposed to the video. Is that correct?
Yes, and those marketing email services like a Constant Contact or a MailChimp, when you put a video into your email that you send, it's going to ask you to use a YouTube link or a Vimeo link like we talked about. And so from those links on YouTube or Vimeo, you're going to be able to measure it, but the most you're going to get from like a Constant Contact is going to be the clicks on that link, not necessarily any video engagement stats.
Right. And there are a lot of platforms out there, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. As you work with title agencies and others outside the title space, do you have a sense of where like our business partners are at? Are they using Instagram the most? Is it YouTube? Where are the realtors at? Where are the people who are going to drive the business to our people in the audience?
Like all things in this industry, it's very different based on market to market. But my overall response to that is that if you are looking for new business from, for your own market, for your existing customers, you've got to ask and do the research to figure out where they're at. It's most likely that if you're in a market that has mostly an older demographic of real estate agents and mortgage lenders, it's probably Facebook sprinkled with Instagram. If you're in a market that's more luxury driven, or you have a younger base of lenders and real estate agents, Instagram probably edges out Facebook, but LinkedIn is still a part of that for them. For new customers, new audiences, where we see the most success in general right now, Instagram for younger or luxury or new to the industry real estate agents is where it's at and where you should focus. And then anything for lenders and especially investment clients, investor clients would be LinkedIn. That's where we see the most success by far.
Yeah. And it's amazing. You mentioned it, if you have a newer phone, I finally got a newer phone. I had an iPhone 8 forever, but I got a 14 now, and I tell you what, the pictures, the video quality is amazing.
Makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Yeah. We're at the top of the hour. We got one more question, and then if again, if anything comes to mind afterward, or you want to investigate, or need some help creating videos, please connect with Wayne. Wayne, Carly asks, and she says this isn't really videos, but I think it is. She asked, what do you think about using Teams to do recordings and to do step-by-step point and clicks to help with internal instructions? I think that sounds like a great option.
Oh yeah, I think that counts for a screen recording, counts just as much as a video as anything else. Anything that you have to press play on or automatically plays counts as a video. And that's a good point, because even some of the really crazy the viral Facebook things that you see where it's a static image, but it looks like a video, and so it starts playing, and you're like, wait, this looks like it's just from Instagram, but it looks like a video. It's because they've realized that only video gets that level of engagement. And so anything like that is really good. And if you're doing teams for like that how to kind of point and click stuff, I wanted to bring up, there's an app that I absolutely love that I think I tell people about all the time right now, that regardless of whether you are in marketing or HR or anything for your company, and it's called Scribe. And I think it's scribehow.com. But if you look up Scribe tutorials, you'll find it, and that's SCRIBE. And Scribe allows you to do those screen recordings, to do the audio of what you're doing. And then basically what it does is every time you click, it takes an automatic screenshot of that, and it turns it all, what you're saying, what you're clicking on, and the video, it turns it all into a really usable PF in the end as well. So it's helpful for customer training, internal training, onboarding, all that kind of stuff. I can't talk highly enough, but it also exports a video for you too, and all of that counts for sure.
All right. Awesome, Wayne. Thank you. Hopefully we'll turn some of the novices into Spielbergs eventually. So
yeah, if you create a video, send it my way. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you missed parts of today's webinar, if you think others in your office would benefit from listening, as we mentioned, recording to the presentation will be emailed tomorrow, and you can always access our recordings at alta.org/webinars. Need to thank RamQuest once again for sponsoring today's webinar. And Wayne, again, thank you for sharing, spending some time with us and sharing your expertise in videos.
Of course. Thanks for having me. This was great.
All right. Thank you, and take care, everyone.